Hey guys, I wanted to go over Hodor's travels on a map as of this point. We're still on the road together right now, so this is changing day by day, but this will bring you all mostly up to speed. Before I get into the video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That way you never miss one of Hodor's Trucker Tales. So first off, I want to go over where Hodor went before we even went over the road together, like from the very beginning when we got him. We live in Seminole County, Florida. We picked him up from Duval County, which is Jacksonville, of course. We got him from the Humane Society in Jacksonville. So Duval County would be his very first county accounted for. We don't know where he was before that, before we got him, but his life, according to us, started when we got him. So that's how we're going to look at it. Then we have to add a few counties we had to go through just to bring him back home to Seminole County. So we just took the little drive down back to Seminole County from Jacksonville. So we would have got St. John's, Flagler, Volusia, and Seminole, of course. Just a couple. Now, over time, we've taken Hodor on a few family trips here and there around Florida. I won't go into them in detail, but I will highlight here all the counties which Hodor would have acquired over those various little trips over the first, I don't know, probably 7-8 months after we got him. We didn't go too many different places, and we never really exited Florida until the next map I'm going to show you. So Hodor's first trip out of state occurred in December of 2021. Teresa was working and I had a rare day off, so I decided to take him on a trip with me to Macon, Georgia and back. We were actually visiting the resting place of 4 of the original 6 members of the Allman Brothers Band. Shout out to them. I've never seen that. I wanted to pay my respects, and I decided to take Hodor with me. So here are the few counties into Georgia that Hodor acquired during that time. By the way, this was his first time out of Florida into any new state. So there's that. We also took Hodor to Savannah, Georgia one time, which accounted for Hodor's first time in South Carolina, and all of these highlighted counties as well. So that's about it when it comes to Hodor's pre-truck travels. Less than 100 counties over only 3 states. Now we're going to get into Hodor's first Trucker Tales. So I took Hodor with me over the road from May of 2023 until July of 2023 first. And over the course of those 2 months, Hodor increased his state count to 23 total states, plus DC. I won't go over every single trip individually during that time, because if I did, we'd be here for days. But you could see that during those 2 months, the farthest west we went was southwestern Missouri. We went all the way up to Vermont, to Wisconsin, down to Alabama, and many places in between. Look at Mount Hood, up ahead. Entering the Columbia River Gorge right now. That's amazing. After July, I dropped him back off home and went back on the road by myself from July until September. So this here is Hodor's complete up-to-date map as of the time of dropping it back off in July. Now we're going to fast forward from here until September, which is when I picked him back up again from home, and he's been with me ever since then. So from this point on, we're going to go through each trip one by one so you can see the evolution of every single trucker tale. So just to explain how the colors work on these maps, I'm going to be using yellow to highlight any new counties which Hodor is acquiring on a particular trip that I'm showing you. However, I'm going to use the color orange for counties that we are going back through again that he's already been to. That way you can at least see the outline of the whole trip in its entirety, but you can differentiate which counties he's acquiring for the first time on that trip, which would be the yellow ones, versus orange counties that we're going through again, basically. And then, of course, any red counties that you see on a certain map, those are counties that are established prior, that he's already been to, that we're not going through in that trip. That way you can see the full map at the same time as well. So first off, we have our very first trip off of home time, which was from Bloomingdale, Georgia to Mebane, North Carolina. As you can see, they sent us all the way to just about Savannah to pick up, which is a far deadhead, but any of you truckers out there will understand that it's very difficult to get a decent load out of Florida just because of how the markets are. Perhaps in the future I'll make a more in-depth video of this concept and how the markets work across the country for truckers, but the rule of thumb is when you're coming out of Florida, just accept whatever they take you because you're probably not going to get anything better. Welcome to Idaho. After we dropped that load off in North Carolina, we deadheaded up to the Hershey Distribution Center in Stewart's Draft, Virginia, and this load was going all the way to Ogden, Utah. I was very excited to have been assigned this load because this was going to be Hodor's first taste of the real West. I love driving out west, anywhere past the Mississippi River, so I was very excited to show Hodor the beautiful mountains and canyons that the western half of the country has to offer. On this trip, we went through Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Wyoming, and Utah. It was a very long trip, but a beautiful one. The next load we were assigned was to pick up at the same Hershey Distribution Center in Ogden, Utah that we just dropped. This time we were going to bring this load to Centralia, Washington. On this trip, we went through the states of Utah, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, as you can see on this map. Honestly, Interstate 84, from its inception near Echo Canyon, Utah, all the way to its terminus in Portland, Oregon, is one of the most scenic interstate stretches in the entire country. It is an unbelievable drive from start to finish. Maybe in the future I'll make a video ranking all the best interstate drives in the country, and any of you people out there, whether you do a lot of driving yourself or if you're a trucker, you can chime in and let me know what you think. After we dropped that load off in Centralia, we were sent to Pasco, Washington to pick up some carrots and bring them down to Arvin, California, which is a small farming town at the southern edge of the valley near Bakersfield. This was Hodor's first time to California, and another incredibly scenic drive. Now, a small side note. During our trip from Utah to Washington, a big rock had flown up and whacked a hole in my windshield. Now, it wasn't bad at first because the hole was all the way at the top near the seal, so it wasn't really in my field of vision. However, on the way down from Washington to California, the cracks began to spread. I guess because it was getting warm out, maybe, the change in temperature. But either way, I knew that if I got stopped, I was going to get a ticket for it. So I let dispatch know of the situation, and after I dropped off in Arvin, they were supposed to get me routed to our closest terminal to get it fixed, which is in Salt Lake City, Utah. There were no loads immediately going from California to Utah or anywhere near Salt Lake City, so the next best thing that they got me was to go pick up in Arvin, California, and head to Loveland, Colorado, at a Walmart distribution center. The idea being that they were going to get me loaded then after that from Colorado back over to Utah. Not a big deal, things happen, so here are the counties that Hodor accrued going from California over to Loveland, Colorado. Also, by the way, still up to this point, this was Hodor's first time ever in Arizona when we clipped the little corner, which is one of the most scenic 15 miles of interstate anywhere, the corner of Arizona on I-15 going through the Virgin River Gorge. It is absolutely incredible, and we got to go through there, and then we took I-70 across Colorado as well, which anyone out there knows can be kind of a hairy road, especially for truckers, but is absolutely stunning. Now the load sending me back to Utah to get a new windshield. We were told to pick up at the very same Walmart distribution center in Loveland, Colorado, and to bring that load to a brick and mortar Sam's Club in Layton, Utah. So we went back through Wyoming and into Utah. We actually just beat the first real snow of the season by only a few hours on this trip. Luckily though, Hodor did get to see his first snow flurries of his life when we took off in the morning from Evanston, Wyoming. He's a Floridian just like me, so snow is a foreign concept to him, but he loved it. Now, a weird thing happened next. While I was on the way back to Utah to drop in Layton, they sent me a tiny little local load to take care of. Basically, the idea was, after dropping in Layton, they wanted me to shuttle one of our trailers from one facility in Logan, Utah, and take it 1 mile down the road to a cold storage facility also in Logan. However, when I arrived at the first place, someone else had already shuttled that trailer over, so it ended up being kind of a waste of time. However, Prime is a great company to drive for, and they take care of us, so they still paid me for the time and fuel. So, things happen, it is what it is. As you can see on the map here, Hodor got one county on this trip, which is Cache County, Utah, where Logan is. Now, after this, we headed down from Logan to Salt Lake City, and we were there for about a day getting the windshield replaced, as well as a couple other little maintenance things that came up. But on this little side quest, Hodor did acquire Salt Lake County, so it's worth noting on a map. After our repairs concluded in Salt Lake City, we were sent to pick up potatoes in Pingree, Idaho, and we were headed to Kenosha, Wisconsin. A good note about this trip is that this was the very first time Hodor or myself have ever been to South Dakota. I had never been to South Dakota before this trip, so it was a cool experience for the both of us. Also, we went through Teton National Park in Wyoming, which was one of the most scenic couple hundred miles of driving I may have ever done in my life. Absolutely stunning. So after we dropped the potatoes in Kenosha, we were supposed to be going to pick up in West Bend, Wisconsin, and heading back out to Logan, Utah. However, this ended up not coming to fruition because the receiver in Kenosha rejected an entire pallet of potatoes and left it on my trailer. Since the trailer wasn't empty, I couldn't head to the next pickup yet until our claims department let me know what they wanted me to do with all these leftover potatoes. So I ended up doing a short little load instead, where I went to pick up from Appleton, Wisconsin, and I took it to Melrose Park, Illinois, which was just outside of Chicago. We were given another short little load to pick up in Chicago, and we were bringing it to a Walmart distribution in Olney, Illinois. I've actually been to this Walmart many times before, actually, and even in fact, Hodor has been there with me when he came with me over the summer. So it's a very frequent delivery location for us. So our next load was honestly a bit of a nightmare, but it did all work out. Essentially, we were picking up in JBS in Beardstown, Illinois, and there were 3 separate receivers on this one. One stop in Guntown, Mississippi, another in Leoma, Tennessee, and a third and final stop in Knoxville, Tennessee. Now, it all worked out fine, but I generally dislike loads with multiple stops, mainly because when there's one delay, it screws everything else up for all the other receivers afterwards. And they're very difficult loads to plan with any level of certainty, and I'm a bit OCD with that, and I like to plan things out ahead of time, so sometimes it can feel a little unsure going into these types of loads, but like I said, this one all worked out fine. I wasn't late for any of these appointments, so we're on to the next. After dropping in Knoxville, we headed up to Mount Sterling, Kentucky to pick up at Nestle. And this load was actually going to a Walmart distribution in Winter Haven, Florida. I wasn't supposed to be going on home time, it just so happened to have a load to Florida, so I took it. It was a pretty good paying load, and I figured it'd be nice to possibly be able to see Teresa or my family when I got to Florida, which luckily I did have the opportunity to take Teresa out to dinner and have a date night after I delivered, so it was very nice. After dropping at the Walmart in Winter Haven, they gave us a local load to pick up at the Prime Drop Yard in Auburndale, and it was going up to a Publix distribution center in Orlando. And this was a local load, so I figured why not just take it. Paid a couple $100 to sit there for a couple hours, so it was pretty easy. When they sent me the local load to Orlando, they also pre-planned me to pick up at the Coca-Cola plant in Auburndale after dropping in Orlando. This load is going to a Walmart distribution center in Shelbyville, Tennessee. Nothing crazy on this one, nice and easy up I-75, except the nightmare, which is Atlanta, but you can't avoid it every time. After this, we were sent to pick up kind of a short load in Nashville, Tennessee, and this was going to Claremont, North Carolina, to a Tyson plant. This was nothing crazy, just a nice drive through the mountains of I-40. After this, we were sent to Fletcher, North Carolina, which is near Asheville, to pick up some IPAs at Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, and this load was going to Moraine, Ohio, which is right outside of Dayton. After this, we were essentially given 2 loads at the same time, one short load followed by a longer load after. So first we were sent to Cargill in Sydney, Ohio, and this was going to a Campbell Soup factory in Ashland, Ohio. And right after that, we headed up to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we hauled 20,000 pounds of waffles down to a cold storage facility in McDonough, Georgia. After dropping in McDonough, there wasn't really any load availability in the Atlanta area, or Georgia at all for that example, so they headed us to Humboldt, Tennessee, and this load was going to Westchester, Ohio, which is just north of Cincinnati. There ended up being a delay at the shipper and at the receiver, so it was kind of annoying, and it took a lot longer than I thought it would, but it all worked out. After dropping this off in Ohio, we were sent the exact same load, which we had just taken a few days prior. we were sent to Grand Rapids, Michigan again to take some waffles down to McDonough, Georgia. And now, finally, we are up to the present. We just dropped this load off yesterday in McDonough, and right now, I'm in Georgia with Hodor doing a 34-hour reset to try and get a new fresh 70-hour clock. So this is Hodor's fully up-to-date map as of right now. Whew! I know it's monotonous, but I love keeping track of all my travels, and Hodor's travels as well. So I thought maybe some of you would like to see it. I'll post another video probably after Thanksgiving, which is when I'm going to be dropping him back off at home anyway, with a final up-to-date map of all of Hodor's Trucker Tales. Thanks so much for watching. Please stay tuned to all content we're going to be putting out from this channel, from music to history to geography and any other random stuff that may be on my mind while I'm driving. You won't want to miss any of it.